Hey coaches, I'm going to talk a little bit today about how management works at a junior FLL team. Management is one of the most important strands for any first program. Along with leadership, management joins design, fabrication, programming, researching, prototyping, and presenting as the basic skill palette that kids need to be successful with problem solving. Management might be the most important element for any team, and it might be the hardest skill set to develop. Kids are often very excited about ideas, which falls under the leadership track. Actually getting things done on budget and on time falls under the management track, and it's notoriously where teams struggle the most. So the focus of management really is on implementing the plan, then making revisions as necessary, and making sure that you're operating within the budget and timeline. Documenting the work is critical, and a mentor can play a very significant role in helping the team. In some cases, the mentor could take photos or remind someone to take photos to help them organize all of that documentation that the kids will then later use to report on their work and present out. One of the things that you can do to help promote the notion of management on a junior FLL team is to have roles that are associated with management style tasks. For example, a timekeeper pays attention to the time. That's their job for the work session. A lot of kids, especially when they're very young, might not be able to read time. So you could give them a kitchen timer or a sand glass or any number of things, but their job would be to say, hey guys, I think we're running out of time. We need to get back on task, or to redirect into saying, hey, we've only got a few minutes left, maybe we should pick up, and so on. Having someone responsible for watching the time really makes the kids understand that it's important. I wouldn't necessarily have the same person be the timekeeper every time, because that would get boring and that wouldn't be very much fun. One of the things that little kids like doing a lot is being the photographer and taking photos to document their work product. This is hugely important. In fact, you might run into a situation where the kids take too many photos, but often they'll forget to take photos in between obvious times. Reminding the kids to, hey, that looks like a good opportunity to take a shot, or a shot might help you remember that later, makes all the difference. The facilitator is a role that can be very tricky with little kids. The facilitator's job is to try to make sure that everything is actually getting done. Some kids are certainly better at this than others. Each team benefits from having someone who is naturally interested in this type of a task, but often the person comes off as bossy and mean. And even rotating this, that the kids can be not the best at understanding how to manage this. And the kids generally love the role of builder, the person who actually has to do some stuff. By rotating these roles around, kids can get a better understanding of how to work on a team. Again, at the junior FLL level, it's not so important that they do anything to any particular level, but that they grow to really understand the process and that they have fun with it. Working with the robot is a great way to sustain their interest in the overall activity, and then these other skills, you're kind of fueling them for later growth. As a mentor, one of the things that is very helpful is to redirect them if you see that things aren't going quite the way you want. You don't have to direct them with a heavy hand, although you could. There's nothing to say that you couldn't do that. But you might want to do things such as ask them, hey, how are we doing on time? And that will cue the timekeeper to say, oh, right, we need to do this. Or was that in the plan? If you see someone off task, they can refer back to what it is they're working on. Likewise, if you see someone who's doing something that's off task, you might ask them, how does that help the project? And if they don't have a clear, obvious answer, then that might be a cue for them to get back in. I already mentioned asking, hey, do we have a picture of that, or would a picture of that help? If you see someone maybe not making the best choice, you might ask them, how else could you do that? Or does it seem like that's working? Might something else work better? Or if you see someone who's stuck, you could just say, hey, how could you get help? Any of these are ways that you could use to help the kids self-regulate. At the end of each session, you want to do a quick reflection, and this is a critical part of the management process. It helps them make updates. Are we working with our plan? Do we need to get stuff for our next session? This can be critical for the project portion. Say, for example, the kids want to make a video. They need to make notes to have a camera set aside for their next meeting. They might have to go to the library and reserve a camera, or they might have to make a note to ask their teacher if they can use the camera. But this is that time where they say, oh, we've met, we know what we want to do next time, what do we need? If there's a problem with the team culture, it might come up at this time. Sometimes some kids do all the work and other kids do very little and they feel badly about it, and we may look at moving work groups around. Other times one of the kids might be having a bad day, but this is an opportunity to kind of check in with the kids to be sure that their group dynamic is working the way they want it to, and then to make some recommendations if it isn't. And then finally to set the agenda for the next meeting so that when they show up they know what they need to do. As often is the case in elementary, sometimes even setting the agenda is a great way to help them prepare for the next session, because often when someone's absent or when materials aren't available, they're going to have to make adjustments on the fly. So it helps to do some of that stuff ahead of time. I hope this helps. Management is super important, especially at the junior FLL level, because there's not as many other moving parts. And it's a great time to help the kids learn that you have ownership over what you're doing, and this is your work. It's super exciting when the kids start to take charge of that, and you can see their excitement and investment grow.